So did your son go back to Australia?
End of the month.
Oh, sorry, Mama. I'm a whole 30 girl by and large. I'm a whole 30 girl by and large. So no, it's not. But so I'm saying I do everything but exercise. I don't get off my butt. I am very sedentary. That's what's wrong with me.
Change that.
Yeah, you could. Just maybe cattle cross. Someone chase me with it. Since it's on here, right?
No, that can just be on it.
Great.
I'm not in it, right?
Yes. It's very it's from here all the way to the plant.
No thanks.
I'm gonna go get a pen. I lost my pen. Oh, here it is. Wow. It's underneath you.
Oh, you're in the video.
You guys are in for it tonight. You guys ready? Yeah, I feel sorry for you guys. Tree bark and asparagus. That's going to be the diet for the next month. But can you get that? All right, you guys ready? So we're going to talk to you. I want to just start big picture. I'm just going to introduce it to Dr. Alex. Will get into some nitty gritty, and Dr. Kristen will actually deliver the plan for the next month, next 28 days, which you have in front of you. But so just big picture, I want you to understand how we approach nutrition. Okay, so number one, first and foremost, as chiropractors, the major premise in chiropractic is that there's a universal intelligence in all matter, which continually gives to it all its properties and actions, thus maintaining that matter in existence. Well, what does that mean? It just means that there's intelligence in life. That means that it's not that things don't happen haphazardly. So if you have a headache, for example, that's your body telling you that there's something wrong and sending you a warning signal to do something about it, right? So as a chiropractor, we would think it's relatively insane to just take a drug to mask that for the rest of your life without looking for the basic fundamental underlying cause. You see how that differs greatly and drastically from traditional medicine? But we approach nutrition the same way, because just like on the internal environment, there's coordination, there's reason. I mean, when you dissect the human body and you look inside, which sounds a little grotesque, but you look inside, it's mind-blowing how amazingly and intricately designed it is. It's insane to actually see this, and like you're in awe of something that is absolutely miraculously made when you look at it from that perspective. But on the macroscopic environment, meaning outside of the microscopic environment of the body, it's the same thing. We view it the same way. So if you're looking at, why there's toxicity and why, we smoke stacks and stuff that's terrible and it's bad for the environment, we know that now, right? Because that has ramifications that affect all the way from trees to birds to plants to bacteria, even though you can't see bacteria, right? And so there's an organization, there's an intelligence in the way that this world is created. And we find that if you honor that, the closer you are to honoring that intelligence, the better level of health that you have, okay? And so there's a movement now in food production called regenerative farming. I don't know if you've heard of this, but regenerative farming is taking farms that have been destroyed by monoculture. So a monoculture would look like this. That would be a monoculture. So it's one thing grown for multiple generations. That depletes the soil. It causes an imbalance in all types of microscopic stuff in the soil, right? And it causes us to eat that and become sick. So even though you might be eating something that's quote unquote good, but where it comes from will cause you to become sick because it doesn't have all the requirements necessary to make that food healthy. Does that make sense? You guys following me? Right, and so there's a new movement. We have a couple patients actually who have huge farms up north who have been, like, for example, soybean farmers on thousands of hectares. So they have massive, massive farms. And they've always done it the traditional way because it's paid better. I mean, they know it's wrong, but it's paid so much better that you just can't do it otherwise. But now with regenerative farming, what they're finding is that you can take small sections of that huge farm. You could take 5 acres, you could take 50 acres, 100 acres, and you could rehabilitate the soil. And it takes about 5 years to do that, right? So you're losing revenue for a long time. However, the food that comes out of there and the yields that are there afterwards are phenomenally better than anything else that you could find in these monocultures or this mass type of agriculture that we find today, right? As an example, I was in northern Sumatra, which is in Indonesia, a couple of years ago, taking my kids to we were hunting for, not hunting, but like trekking to find orangutans in the wild, which was absolutely phenomenal. And it took like 4 hours of driving through these roads to get to like the middle of nowhere where very few white people had been with blonde hair and stuff like that. So they were touching my mother-in-law's hair and my kids' hair and stuff because they had blonde hair. It was very interesting, but it was very sad because on the way there were hours at a time of driving where they had completely destroyed the rainforest and the jungle that is like the richest soil and richest tree landscapes with animals that I've ever seen in my life. It was like mind-blowing. And they had changed it to these monoculture palm trees so they can get palm oil. And it was devastating the soil, it was devastating the health of the people because then they had to use all types of herbicides and fungicides and what else? Herbicides, fungicides, and pesticides in order to keep these things alive so that they can get their yield, to get their crops, so they can make their money. In these areas right here, that happens naturally. There are natural herbicides, natural fungicides, natural pesticides that are here through the animals. Like some years you might have an overgrowth of snails, right? That'll start eating and ravaging certain parts of the farm, but the chickens are going to come and eat those snails. So there's a natural order that occurs that's intelligent, that keeps this healthy and well, but also creates the healthiest foods that you could possibly imagine that nourish your body beyond what you could imagine. Let me give you an example. If you have, and you guys, you're gonna love this example, Dr. Kristen, it drives her nuts every time I use it because I love it. I love this example because it sums it all up, okay? If you are growing berries in an area that is dry and it's like lacking water, that berry or whatever the fruit or vegetable is going to create more resveratrol in it in order to help survive that difficult environment, right? Resveratrol or other, that's a form of a polyphenol. And polyphenols in the body help protect us against all types of different cancers and diseases. So it's beneficial for us to have foods that are in our environment that then communicate to us the difficulties and stresses that they've had in their environment by what they produce as the food. So it's absolutely fascinating when you see the intricate nature of how the food is produced for our bodies. Yet when we get down to stuff like this, you don't get those benefits because all you do here is you grow as fast as you can, as hard as you can, with as many chemicals as you can without dying, without killing the crop. So my sister did her grade 12 senior year in Australia, and she spent a year there. And she worked through different farms there to pay her way around and to travel around as part of her education. It was a really cool program. And one of the farms she worked at was a conventional farm where it was an apple orchard and you picked the apples. And they discovered ways where you could put the herbicides and the pesticides directly into the ground so there's no more spraying. And the farmer was just over the moon about this, loving it, right? Now she would go and pick the apples and put them literally in the basket, like, right? And the problem is that if she would get cut, which you do when you're reaching through branches all the time, that would burn and literally cause searing pain on her because it was chemicalized that was coming through the soils, through the roots, through the tree, and into the fruit. Now, the farmer was so happy because it was killing 10% of the crop. Of the trees, it would literally kill, it was so strong, kill 10%, but it would give him 90% of the crop that would have these strong apples in them that were able to resist all types of pests and stuff like that. But we were eating the pesticides that were in them. And she would feel it just a scratch on her arm would cause searing pain because of the chemicals that were now inside the tree. You see that? Now, that apple is going to be totally different than one that's grown here because there are apples grown here. Now, on an average apple, there's 100 million bacteria on one apple that's grown naturally. If you spray glyphosate on there and you put the other herbicides and pesticides on there, you're not going to have that because they're actually designed to kill those bacteria. Those bacteria are natural and normal for our bodies to digest food properly. Yet we've been taught since we've been knee-high to grasshopper that bacteria are dangerous. Especially in the last year that viruses are dangerous. There's, I don't know how many billions of viruses on there, but we just checked it out and there are a ton of viruses on here. Yet we're taught viruses are bad. Yet our genome, our genetic material, our DNA is made of viruses. 48% is viral in nature. That we have more bacteria in our bodies. More bacteria in our bodies than we have normal human cells in our bodies. Think about that for a second. And they each play a role, and a different role, in helping us digest, and helping us make enzymes, and helping us make vitamins and stuff. So what's my point? My point is the quality of the food that you choose is hyper important to the level of health that you're going to create in your life. Because if you're choosing food from here, I don't care how many vegetables, fruit, and stuff that you eat, you're filling your body with toxic chemicals and poisons. You're devoid of the natural bacteria, fungi, viruses, even little worms that are necessary. I'm not talking about the big ones, but I'm talking about little invisible ones that are necessary elements for proper function and digestion. Does that make sense? And so we believe, nowadays, the average person believes that spraying the more the better is awesome. We believe that this is like exciting, and flying planes over fields and spraying with all toxic chemicals that lead to different types of cancer is better because it's going to create more yield. That is false. That is absolutely not true. Genetically modifying, adding pesticides and herbicides is horrible, and irradiating our food. I don't know if you know this, but if you go to Publix and you buy just traditional vegetables and fruits and meats off the counter that's not organic and grass-fed and all the stuff we're going to go over, they literally irradiate this stuff. Why do they irradiate it? Give me an idea. Why do they irradiate food? So they're literally, if I take a chest x-ray on somebody, just to put it into perspective, that's 10 times the amount of x-ray as a spine x-ray, a chest x-ray. When you have food that's irradiated, they use 30 million chest x-rays in one dose on the apple. 30 million times a chest x-ray. That's 300 million times a spine x-ray. I'd be thrown in jail for that, but that's what they do here. Why do you think they do that? Pardon me? Preserving it and making sure it's clean so there's no bacteria on it because we're terrified of viruses and bacteria. This is an insane way to think, you guys. If we don't have viruses and bacteria, we have no life. There is no life on Earth without viruses and bacteria. We need them. We need them in a homeostatic zone, so in the right balance, because if they get out of balance, our bodies can respond to that. But we need them to survive. So we add chemicals, then we irradiate our foods, and then we wonder why our foods are so toxic that it creates cancer. So that most of the chicken that you eat nowadays is full of cancer. So you go to Chick-fil-A, you go to McDonald's, you go to, you name it, Toxic Bell, have you heard of that place? Popeyes,
I've heard of it.
right? It is cancer-filled chicken. Why do you think it's cancer-filled? Somebody talk me through this. I need a little crowd participation so I can get Alex up here quickly. Yes?
Because people will use it because it's fast and easy.
Yes, but why? Yes, exactly. So it's fast and easy.
And it's
but
cheap.
It's cheap. Why is it cheap? How do they raise? Like, why would this chicken have cancer in it?
It's filled with antibiotics.
The grains, the
Okay, exactly. So first of all, they never move. I don't know if you know this, but chickens are in cages their whole lives. They're born on a conveyor belt and they're put in a cage, and then they're injected with steroids, they're injected with antibiotics, they're injected with growth hormones in order to make it as big as possible, as fast as possible, and they never move. If I put you in a cage from the time you were born and injected you with a bunch of chemicals, fed you food that you weren't supposed to eat to make you as fat as possible, as fast as possible, what would your health be like today? Not where it is today. It'd be way worse than it is today. Even if you've abused your body for the last 30 or 40 years, it would still be way worse. And so that develops cancer cells. And so that's why most of the chicken has cancer that you eat. And isn't this disgusting? I hope it's disgusting, and I hope you remember this, because I don't want you to buy that type of chicken anymore. So they're allowed now to cut the cancer off and still sell you the chicken. And that's the stuff you buy when you buy conventional meats at the grocery store. So a couple of vomits in the mouth a little bit, swallow it back down, because we'll get to the good stuff. But there's other stuff like this that we're going to show you so you can make better decisions. Because the reality is what you put in here, what you put in your mouth, the intelligence within the body turns into eye cells and allows you to see. Think about that for a second. Turns into brain cells. It turns into your stomach cells, which allows you to digest the right types of food, to break down food and digest it. So if you're filling yourself up with carcinogenic foods, the chances of your body working right decrease significantly. Make sense? Give them a couple other examples.
Yeah, okay.
Can you?
Yeah,
All right.
this is gonna be fun. So, yeah, salmon fillets. How many of you guys like salmon? Yeah. So if you buy farm-raised salmon versus the wild-caught salmon, the farm-raised salmon is normally supposed to be gray, right? The reason why wild-caught salmon is pink is because of krill and shrimp that it naturally eats in its natural habitat, right? But the farm-raised salmon are fed a completely different diet. So they're fed pigmented pellets so that they're able to turn pink, so that when it's sold to the grocery store, it comes out as a pink color, but it's not naturally pink, right? So the wild-caught salmon in the grocery store is what you need to look for. And the difference, what this actually does to your health, is the farm-raised salmon has higher ratios of omega-3s to 6s, which causes the inflammation in the body. Right? So you may think that you're eating healthy, whether that's a salmon salad, but if it's farm-raised, it's going to cause you more issues later on than just by getting the wild-caught salmon, right? And then also the meats, right? So this is before a carbon monoxide treatment and after. So the meats that you find in the grocery store that are packaged go through a carbon monoxide treatment with carbon dioxide, and nitrogen that they then seal into a package so that it keeps this color for up to 2 weeks. Right? And then when you're at the grocery store, we lost one. So that when you go to the grocery store and you're looking at the meats, you're not going to obviously pick that over that one, right? And so I'm going to get more into the proper types of meats that are going to have the natural color that's good, which is based on what the cow actually eats. It's on its own diet, right? But I want to show you a video. This one's going to be good. All right, this is the problems with conventional meats. I feel like we could stop here and you guys would do whatever we told you guys to do after that, after watching the video. But most people that change their diet to like a vegan or vegetarian diet, you hear them say that they feel great after doing it. It's not necessarily because they're cutting out the meats. It's because they're getting rid of the conventional meats that are what's actually causing the issues. Okay, because the biggest myth is that the fats and meats is what causes the heart disease, the cancers, the osteoporosis, and the kidney diseases, and that's not the case. Okay, you just have to pick the right meats, and if you eat the right meats, yeah, that's okay. You're gonna live a healthy life. Okay, so what are the right meats? Right. So first off, it's the grass-fed organic beef. Okay, so if you think about that, right? If you're eating a cow, right? If you're eating a steak, what should a cow be eating? Grass. It should be eating grass, right? It has actually 4 stomachs to actually digest the grass that it eats. But what is it fed?
Grain.
Grain, right? And why is it fed grain? Yeah, exactly. So same thing with the
taste. They say it.
yeah, and the taste as well. So in order, like what Dr. Joel was saying, in order for it to get as big as possible, as fast as possible, they have to feed all the grains, which turn into sugar, which is what leads to the cow getting fatter faster, right? But that's not the typical diet that a cow should be eating. So you should look for a grass-fed organic beef, okay? But one thing to note here, there's a difference between grass-fed and grain-finished and grass-fed and grass-finished, right? Because it could eat 30% grass and 70% grains and be considered grass-fed. But you have to find something that's 100% grass-fed, right? And then organic pasture-raised chicken. Okay, so this one gets very confusing because if you go to the store and you look to buy eggs or chicken, you see all sorts of things. Cage-free, what else? Free range, pasture-raised, and most people don't even know what the difference is. Okay, so if you think about it, so what do you guys think would be cage-free? You think that's a good thing, a bad thing?
It's bad.
You think good, bad? Why do you say bad?
Because it's sometimes the space they go into, all these chickens is very small. They're not roaming. They're,
Yes,
they're
exactly.
very limited on where they can go.
So they're out of the cage, but they're stuck in the warehouse, right? So the warehouse can have anywhere from 20,000 to 40,000 chickens put together in the same warehouse. So they may as well be in the cage because they can't really move around. Okay, and then the second one, free range. Free range is another one that they'll get you on because free range doesn't mean that they're out roaming, right? Yeah, they're not out in the range just roaming around. There's a warehouse, and in the warehouse there's a little door, and there's a little gate of 2 square feet that the chicken has the ability to come out, and then that's considered free range, right? It doesn't have to be out of the warehouse. It just has to go out a little bit, and it's within this 2 square foot
Technically,
cage.
they're not lying.
Technically, yeah, exactly. Technically, they're not lying, which I'm going to get into the marketing of it. But yeah, that's the issue. And then pasture raised, they're given 108 square foot space outside per bird, right? So you want to look for not only pasture raised but also organic because organic is what they're fed. Okay, they're fed an organic diet, not injected with the hormones or the antibiotics. So that's ideal. And then what I talked about, the wild caught fish, and then raw organic dairy. Okay, so that doesn't necessarily mean go to the grocery store and you just see organic milk or organic cheese, and that's the same thing. You want to look for the raw organic dairy. Okay, and that's in moderation. I don't recommend that everyone does it. And if you're sensitive to dairy, right, even if it's raw, you shouldn't even have dairy at all, right? And the only place that I know, I don't know if you guys know of anywhere else to get raw milk or anything, is at Food and Thought. Is at Food and Thought, the grocery store. Are you guys familiar with Food and Thought?
Yes.
Yes, a couple of you? Yeah.
So before you move on to with grass-fed organic beef and the pasture-raised chicken, who shops at Publix? Anyone shop at Publix? This is a Publix steak. Yeah, so they have a huge section of meat, right? And they have the one section of the green wise or organic. And they have probably 6 or 7 different types of beef or chicken in that section. You have to read the label. I'm sure, my family's done it, so I'm sure you guys have done it at the same time. You go in there, you're just looking for something quick or a couple of things, and you just grab whatever you see. I've literally gotten home with a few pounds of meat and it being completely not what I thought it was, or the label change or something like that. So make sure that you take the extra few minutes to read those labels, because you can literally get home. I've thrown out all the meat that I've bought before. So make sure you're reading those labels, because they will switch the labels between pasture raised or free range and things like that. So just make sure you're reading it and look for the organic seal as well.
Yes.
Something else.
And the organic seal, you want to look for USDA organic or American grass-fed. And that's the best thing that you look for. And like I was saying about here, it's not the fats, it's not the meats that are bad. Okay, it's not the meats that lead to the high cholesterol or the high blood pressure. This is the issue is the sugar, which is the inflammation in the arteries, in the vessels. That's what leads to the cholesterol and the high blood pressure. But they see that the meat is around the area, the LDLs are in the area. LDL, which is considered the bad cholesterol, is a natural anti-inflammatory that's going to that specific area of inflammation to help lower the inflammation in the area. Okay, and what causes that is the sugar. So if you think about this, sugar is, obviously overconsumed in this country. What do you guys think is the #1 source of sugar in the American diet today?
Soda.
Coffee.
Soda's a good one. Coffee's a good answer.
Bread.
Who said bread? Bread. Yes.
Ice cream at night in bed.
Yeah. It's the grains, right? It's the grains, the breads, right? So if you eat a piece of bread, a piece of white bread, it takes 4 seconds for your body to turn it into sugar into your body, right? It turns it into sugar. It then stores it as glycogen in the liver. And once your body only can store a certain amount of glycogen, once it stores up all the glycogen, it then stores it as fat. Okay, so think about the typical American breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What do they typically have for breakfast? Cereal, toast, bagels. Yeah. What about lunch? Sandwich, right? And then dinner, pasta, pizza. What'd you say?
Pasta with bread.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's sugar on top of sugar. Your body's then storing that as sugar and fat, which leads to inflammation. The sugar leads to insulin resistance, which leads to diabetes. And then also they're finding that inflammation in the gut leads to inflammation in the brain, which leads to things like Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, dementia, all these different memory loss issues, just because of the amount of sugar that we're consuming in the American diet. Okay, so like I said, the meat's not the issue. Okay, you can't eat too much meat. You can't eat too much meat, right? But it's the sugars that leads to the amount of inflammation, that leads to the disease process in the body, the cancers, all that. And then also artificial sweeteners, which most people don't even think about this one. Artificial sweeteners like aspartame, or like it's aspartame, which is like equal, NutraSweet, or sucralose, which is Splenda. Xylitol is a sugar alcohol, same thing. But these things are found in almost just about every everyday product, like toothpaste and mouthwash. People don't realize that. Salad dressings, alcoholic beverages, candies, baked goods, yogurts. Like if you see on the package where it says no sugar, there's probably an artificial sweetener in there, okay? Yeah, and so then that leads to toxicity and inflammation in the body, but that also affects your insulin levels, which is what I was talking about here with insulin resistance. If you want to lose weight, you have to control your insulin. Because if you have high insulin, which when you consume any sugar, insulin is what goes to take the sugar out of the bloodstream. If you want to control insulin by lowering that so that you're able to burn fat, you have to control insulin by not eating sugar and not eating sweeteners, even if it's an artificial sweetener or a natural sweetener, which will trigger that insulin response in the body. Okay, so you have to control insulin if you want to lose weight or control the disease process in the body. And then high fructose corn syrup, which is now named 61 different names, such as glucose fructose, isoglucose, glucose fructose syrup. It has different names on the back of the packaging so that it's hidden. But this has been shown to lead to things like cancer, diabetes, heart disease as well. And then toxic foods. I already talked about this. All the additives that they put in the meats, all the additives that they put in just every food. And why do they do that? Right? It's so that it's able to stay on the shelf for long periods of time. So that looks appeasing to you when you're at the grocery store. It tastes good. And the FDA is not your friend because they allow 3,000 food additives, preservatives, and colorings to be in your food. And the average American consumes 150 pounds of these toxic chemicals on a yearly basis, right? That's significant, please.
You know what Lou Holtz said to his ball players? If it tastes really good, spit it out.
If it tastes good. Okay, that's good. How many of you guys like gummy bears or anything gummy?
No.
I got a couple of you. Thanks for being honest. Hopefully you don't like them too much.
With fat.
So essentially, how is it that they get you to buy foods like that? Like it all really comes down to the marketing, right? Because if you look at a box of cereal, you see immunity, or what's the one, the heart cereal, Cheerios? Cheerios. Where it's for your cholesterol. Heart Smart, yeah. Things like gluten-free, fat-free, sugar-free, whole grains, 25% of your daily fiber needs. All that stuff's put on the packaging. And so you think it's healthy. You think you're doing the right thing, right? You think that because they sell a certain brand at a certain store, whether that's Whole Foods or whatever, vitamin shop, you think that that's a healthy brand. And whatever they sell, you can eat, right? But then you look at this. This is what's found, has glyphosate found in it. There's things like Kashi Organic Promise. Kashi Organic Promise. You would think that's healthy, right? Or things like Kind Bars. Or what else is there here? Annie's, right? So these brands, which you think are healthier, they've been shown to have glyphosate, which is the chemical that's sprayed on the pesticides that are sprayed on. Okay, so it's not necessarily healthy because it says that it has fiber in it or that it's gluten-free. Okay, so what Dr. Kristen's going to go over with you guys is what you can do, what you can eat, that's actually healthy and that's actually going to allow you to live a happy, healthy life for as long as possible. Sound good?
So now to the good stuff, no more gross things. Can't even watch that. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the advanced plan. So who here has heard of the advanced plan? Okay, so quite a few, that's good. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the basics. So the advanced plan is designed to detoxify, lower inflammation, including things like arthritis or degeneration. Can be for something like lowering your cholesterol, your blood sugar, your blood pressure, or something more severe like autoimmune condition, cancer, diabetes, things like that. Okay, so it can be used for a multitude of different things. Usually, it can be short-term or long-term. So usually we start short-term until you regulate what you want to regulate. So let's say your blood sugar is high. We're going to do the advanced plan until 3 months minimum or until your blood sugar regulates. Does that make sense? Okay, so same with inflammation or something like that. If you have digestive issues, you're going to do the advanced plan until those digestive issues are better or gone, and you're not just going to revert back to eating pizza and pasta, right? Because that's how you got there in the first place. Although you might want to. So there's 3 simple rules with the advanced plan. The first one is changing your sugar and carbohydrates. So you're not going to eat white sugar or even bread that turns into sugar. Your sugar is going to come from, I know I'm getting some sad looks. Your sugar is going to come from berries and Granny Smith apples. Okay, so those are the lowest glycemic fruits. They're not going to raise your blood sugar as much as something like a pineapple would. Okay, so sticking with those berries are what we're going to do with the advanced plan. Again, it's not for the rest of your life, but it is temporary to regulate what you're going to regulate and heal your body from the inside out. The carbohydrates, we're not going to eat bread and grain. So there's going to be no bread and grain on the advanced plan. You're going to get your carbohydrates from vegetables. Okay, so there are a list of vegetables, and we have all of this that I'm going to go over with you. On the protein, so like Dr. Alex talked about, you're going to replace all the conventional meats, those stuff that's highly processed, uses a lot of hormones, antibiotics, with completely organic, pasture-raised, grass-fed, grass-finished meat. Okay, so you have to give your body the fuel it needs to heal itself, because if you keep putting things that cause inflammation into your body, you're going to have more inflammation no matter what. So you have to give your body the right ingredients to heal and to fix those issues. And then the fats, so we want to remove bad fats and replace them with good ones. So give me an example of a bad fat. Okay, close.
Peanut
So,
butter.
Peanut butter? Okay.
I don't know.
Also good. So think about oils. Do you know what a bad oil versus a good oil is?
Canola.
Okay, canola oil. That's what I was looking for. So there's bad fats versus good fats. So the bad fats are, these are just some. So hydrogenated oils, who's heard of the word hydrogenated? Okay, do you know what that means? Hydrogenated? So it takes a solid and turns it to a liquid by heating it up to 500 to 1,000 degrees Celsius, changing the chemical composition of that fat or oil. So canola oil, for example, in its natural form is a solid. Did you know that? So you see it on the shelf in a clear plastic jug, right? It's like huge, because no one wants to take a spoonful of fat and put it in their cooking, right? So they heat it up to a high temperature so it's easier for us to use. But that changes the structure of the fat and actually turns it into more like a rancid fat. So it takes the healthy fats out of it, nutrients out of it, and turns it into like a sludge. So instead of you eating a healthy fat like olive oil or avocado oil, for example, you're eating something now that's totally chemical, and that's what causes the backup in your arteries, because it's more like a sludge. Your body can't process it or get rid of it because now it's a chemical. Right, so a really easy thing to do is just switch the oils. Look for soybean, vegetable, canola, corn, and just mix it out of your diet. Take all those out and look for healthy oils, like olive oil. If you use olive oil, it has to be at room temperature. So if you heat up olive oil, it does the same thing as hydrogenating it. So it changes that, it takes all the good healthy nutrients out of that oil and changes the composition of olive oil. Okay, so use it for salad dressings or something like that at room temperature. Coconut and coconut oil can be used for like medium temperature cooking, and avocado oil for a little bit higher temperature cooking. Okay, so those are really specific, so you don't end up changing the composition of those chemicals or nutrients, and so they stay healthy, so your body can get rid of them and use them as fuel and energy. Make sense? Okay, so now we're gonna go over a few things to read on the label. So when you see this, what section do you usually go to? This part, right? A lot of people count how many calories, how many servings, percent of daily value. I want you to ignore that box. So just delete it from your habits. And I want you to stick with reading the ingredients. Okay? So just going through this box here, you can see that the fat, cholesterol, sodium has a daily value percentage. Everyone see that? So that's, this serving is 43% of your daily value of sodium, for example. So look at sugar. Do you see any sugar daily value on there? So if you look at any label, there is no daily value percentage on any label that you look at. Why do you think that is?
Sugar, no,
There's no daily value for sugar. Why, do you know?
because you get too much of it anyway.
True, so that's on the right track.
'Cause there's
So-
no daily value of it.
No nutritional value.
No nutritional value?
There's no daily, there is no daily value to it.
Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to point out. So actually, the FDA says that you can have less than 20 grams of sugar daily. So we would rather have way less than that, but let's go with a daily value of 20 for just an example. So how many grams of sugar is one Coke?
That's your daily right there.
It's 40.
Or
So if you put the daily value on the nutrition of a Coke, the nutrition label of a Coke, it would be 200% of your daily value of sugar. If you knew where to look on the label, do you think you'd buy that product? No, probably not. So that's exactly why they don't even require it on the label. Because the requirement is so little and the numbers of grams of sugar are so high that people would stop buying those products. So it's easier just to leave it off so you can't even do the math. Right? So that's exactly why I don't want you to read this. No more. Just read the ingredients. And there's some words that I want you to avoid. And these are those words. Who's heard of MSG? Do you know what symptoms it causes?
Headaches.
Yeah. Nausea, vomiting, neck pain, heart palpitations. It's actually classified as an excitotoxin. So what that is, if you break that word apart, exciting, toxin, right? Yeah, toxic. So your cells, actually, when it's exposed to something like that, are so energetic that they die. They can't handle that much excitotoxin because they don't know how to get rid of it. So it actually just excites your nervous system to the point of cell death. Trans fats. So trans fats are same as what we just talked about, the hydrogenated, partially hydrogenated. Fractioned oil means the same thing. So what they can do is they can name hydrogenated 10 different names, but it still means the same thing, just to confuse the consumer. Because who's going to stand there in the store and Google it? Probably not a lot of people. So sweeteners, just like Dr. Alex said, high fructose corn syrup you want to avoid. And any words ending in OSE means sugar. Okay, so cellulose, fructose, sucrose, that's all sugar. Maltodextrin is also sugar. So let's say you're looking at something organic and it says it has soy instead of a different product. Do you think that product's healthier or not? Right, no. So try to avoid soy as well, because soy is the most common ingredient in all genetically modified products. So almost everything that's genetically modified has soy in it. So if you see soy, try to steer clear of that. It's on the label as well. And then the last one is BHA and BHT, which are really long names. And these are 3-letter cancer causers, both classified by the FDA. They're carcinogenic to humans. Again, are you going to stand in the line and Google this? Probably not. So that's why you have to be aware of what is on the label and what to avoid, because they know that you're not going to look it up. It's just going to be on there. You're going to overlook it and then buy that product, and it is carcinogenic to humans. So, and all of these brands have one of these ingredients in them.
Even the stevia.
What?
Even the stevia.
So the stevia in the raw is not stevia extract. So stevia in the raw has dextrose in it. So dextrose is a sugar. So even though it has a nice little cute leaf, it's green, it looks organic and pretty, that's just a marketing tool. So you have to turn it over, because even, Publix is right by my house, so I go there a lot. They have this big stand of stevia in the raw in the middle, and it has all these nice cute leaves and all this stuff. They did a great job on the marketing. And then you go grab it and you buy it because it's on sale, right? Yeah, and it has dextrose in it, so it's sugar. So you're putting that thinking that's healthy, but you're still getting the inflammation. So if you're going to use stevia, you have to use stevia in the extract, and it usually comes in a little dropper. And you can find that almost at any store now. But if you don't know, flip it over and read the ingredients. Okay, so here's one example of swapping something for the advanced plan. So a lot of people that do the advanced plan, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't have pizza anymore, or I can't have pasta anymore. Like, are you kidding me? I can't do this. So this is just one example of something you can swap. So, and I put the ingredients on here so you can see that this has soy, bleach flour, palm oil, dextrose, and salt. So obviously this is a lot of those words that we don't want to eat. So you can substitute it with something like Simple Mills, which you look at those ingredients, those are all real whole food ingredients. However, on the advanced plan, you cannot have that every night. Okay? So like once a week is like the maximum. And this also goes for chickpea pasta, almond flour crackers, and any like refined flour, like coconut flour, also sugar and coconut sugar. Sugar is sugar is sugar. Okay, so that doesn't substitute your white sugar. So no coconut sugar. Okay, does this make sense and why you can't have it every night? Why not? You have it occasionally. What was that?
Why can't you?
So you can have cauliflower. This is just an example of like almond flour is still a refined flour. Coconut flour is still a refined flour. Chickpea flour is still a refined flour. So you can have these things occasionally. Yes.
But cauliflower isn't.
Right, cauliflower though isn't that's not like a refined flour. It's just a vegetable. So you can have cauliflower, that's fine. I would encourage you to eat cauliflower if you like it. Okay, so
Well, that's.
yes, but if you look at the ingredients, so depending on if you make it yourself, for sure, and you know exactly what's going in it, definitely you can try that. But like going to Costco, for example, Costco has cauliflower crust pizzas, and I've bought them before, not reading the label. And there's brown rice flour, white rice flour, starches, all these things that you can't have on the advanced plan, even though it says, you know, nice, pretty vegetable pizza with cauliflower crust. It's not the same. It still has flours in it that you cannot have on the advanced plan. Okay? Again, not forever, temporary.
I'm down for spinach.
Don't worry, we'll go over a lot. Okay, so another thing that's on your 28-day challenge before I go over it is intermittent fasting. So does anyone know what intermittent fasting is? Or has anyone tried it? Okay, some. So it's eating in an 8-hour window of the day. So whatever your schedule is, you can be flexible to that. So the easiest or most common is eating from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and allowing your body to fast the next 16 hours. And the reason for that is that that accelerates your body changing from a sugar burner to a fat burner. Because every time you put sugar in your mouth, that's the first thing that your body's going to burn. Because we have a lot of it. Just like Dr. Alex said, we eat toast, we eat bagels, we eat sandwiches, and we eat pizza and pasta. So our body's constantly working to burn those things off, and we never get to burn our fat, right? So we need to use our fat for energy, and that's how we're going to do that. So intermittent fasting is a very good way to do that. So we did implement it in this. So I'd like to go over this with you guys. So the 28-day nutrition plan. So this is just an outline. It has a little bit more recipes than you might want, but it's just to give you options. You don't have to stick with one or the other. So there's plenty of different ways to make this flexible for your schedule. So we went from breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then including a daily activity of exercise every other day for exercise. Okay, so if you'd like this in a PDF form sent to your email, you can actually click on these recipes, and it takes you directly to the recipe. Okay, so you don't have to search forever to find them. We hyperlink them. Thank you, Talia, for doing that. So it's very easy to find. But just so you know, let's just go over one of these. Let's say the first day, Monday, is a smoothie. Lunch is a broccoli cranberry salad. Dinner is a basic chili, and then exercise. So if you look across the breakfast line here, all the way across Monday through Sunday, you see a bunch of different options. So you don't have to do every single one on here. You can pick one smoothie, buy the ingredients for that, and make that all week if you want, and then change the next week. Or if you want an omelet instead, make an omelet every day. Don't go out, and buy every single ingredient that you find on here. Might be a little more difficult, especially if you have a full-time job. In our time of evening, I know I don't always want to cook. Thanks to my husband for cooking. So doing that or picking a few that you like is way easier and way more doable. Even picking one day a week to cook. If you want to do omelets and chili and burgers, buy those ingredients, prepare them all on Sunday, and then just prepare them so you have them in your fridge. It's way easier to stick to it and just be more accountable to eating the right way if you have it all prepared. Okay? So any questions on the front? No? Okay, also these exercises and workouts.
Actually, what that shows is.
You cannot have the bun, it's in a lettuce wrap.
Yeah.
But yes,
That's one of the-
unless you make your own grain-free, sugar-free buns.
Yeah.
You can do
Actually, I
that.
have two questions.
Okay,
The
yes.
first one was the sausage, eggs and sausage. Does it say what type of sausage you can have with that?
As long as you're buying following the rules in the store, we don't have like a
Specific sausage.
specific one.
And then
yeah.
the mac and cheese. What,
Yes.
As far as the macaroni, what's,
So you can go, if you go to this link here, I think it uses chickpea pasta.
Okay.
So that's again why it's only on here one time
yeah.
during the week instead of Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah.
Where do I find this? Did you say?
So we're gonna have a sheet before you leave that's gonna write down your email, and then I'm gonna email it to you that will have all the hyperlinks to all of the recipes. Anything?
What's like a typical breakfast? Give me like examples of like an easy typical
So
breakfast.
all of us started this challenge a week ago. So hopefully all of you will want to start tomorrow. So we started a week ago. And so like one example would be we make smoothies in the office, so you can have like a very, very smoothie or an omelet is usually what we choose for breakfast. And then for lunch, Janelle made us a chili. So we had the chili for lunch.
What
And
do you put
then
in your omelet?
what do you put in it?
Just eggs or eggs?
Eggs and a ton of vegetables is what I usually do.
Eggs and vegetables.
Mushrooms
You put
and
onions
peppers
in
and
it.
spinach and you can put onion, like anything, yeah, any vegetables, broccoli.
Okay.
Load it up. Okay, those are good questions. Okay, so on the
What
back,
about dinner? What's typical?
dinner. You can do lettuce wrap tacos are my favorite, or lettuce wrap burgers, or
Salad.
a salad is pretty boring, but you can have a salad.
Is this a starvation diet?
No,
Are we supposed to restrict the amount of calories that we're eating?
no.
Okay.
So you have to make sure you're getting enough food. So I had this conversation with Miss Talia too. We were talking about the amount of food and feeling low energy and things like that. You have to make sure you're getting enough food. And by implementing healthy fat, like an avocado, for example, put an avocado in your smoothie, and that will help you stay full longer. So you don't automatically just have a smoothie and then an hour later feel like you have no energy. You have to give your body enough food to sustain the energy, and that's why we have some snacks on the back. Snacks, yeah, you like snacks? I do too. Okay, so some snacks are raw nuts. So why do you think we can't use roasted nuts?
Because they
Yes.
taste better.
Good answer. But yes, that is the correct answer because they roast them in harmful oils like canola oil, vegetable oil, even roasting them in olive oil, since that's a room temperature oil, can change the composition, which then makes it a rancid oil. So then it's bad fat.
And they're usually salted.
They're usually salted and they have a whole bunch of other bad stuff on them. So stick with the raw nuts. They're really not that bad once you get used to them. There's kale chips that you can make. So that's the website for the kale chip recipe. Fruit, which again I said berries or green apples. So blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, raspberries, and green apples. Dr. Joel's favorite snack. What do you want? You want to describe your favorite snack? Yeah.
Oh, 100% cacao chocolate, but it's 100%, so there's no sugar in it. With a little bit of almond butter, a couple of berries, my mouth is watering, and add a little sea salt on there. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So you can have that.
As I
Yeah. And then the last one's just an example of Granny Smith apples and almond butter. That's a really good snack too.
So how am I going to feel when I eat this way? Like at the beginning, first week or 2 weeks or something?
Probably not very good.
Crabby.
Yes. We've crabby, mad. What are some other emotions that you guys have been feeling? I was upset. Talia was upset. She said.
What?
Talia said she was upset when she started. You're doing a little better
Upset as soon as
now.
I read it.
Yeah, I'm good, like when you're reading off a drug.
Yeah.
You feel terrible.
It's almost like
Food is a
flu-like.
drug.
Yeah.
Food is addictive.
Yes, it is. Yeah, sugar is addictive. So it kind of feels like you might be going through some flu symptoms, potentially, or sinus issues, or inflammation, things like that, headaches, brain fog. So don't just give up. You have to push through. It's usually the third or fourth day that you're feeling that way, and then keep, giving yourself enough food, enough energy for your body to push through that, because your body will change. It's just your body changing from a sugar burner to a fat burner. So you have to kind of teach it how to do that. Okay, so what if you're going out to eat? We live in a very touristy place, which has a ton of restaurants, which we always get the question of, well, I can't go out to eat with my friends or my family when they come. So we listed out. You could do that. You could bring your own food in a glass Tupperware, I hope. Not plastic, that's for another day. Okay, so we have some advanced plan restaurant choices for you. There's quite a few with many options. And just make sure that you're reading the menu. You can even talk to your waiter or waitress to make sure they can accommodate that for you, whether it's putting the dressing on the side without a bun or things like that. Make sure there's no sugar in it. They have no problem talking to you about those choices. Okay? So any questions? And there's 3 websites on the bottom here that you can find even more recipes. So let's say you don't like anything on here. You can go pick your own recipes at these 3 websites as well. There's a lot of advanced plan options. Okay, so another option is this book. So if you're a patient in this office, which most of you are, you have this book. We didn't give it to you for your coffee table. So it's for you to read, and there's a huge section on the advanced plan. There's even a grocery list for the grocery store and what to look for. So literally walk you through the grocery store on what to buy, and then in the back is a bunch of advanced plan recipes that you can also have access to at any time. So from smoothies, I mean, it goes through breakfast all the way through dinner. So if you have any questions on that, we'd love to help you with that one too. Any questions on the 28-day challenge? Okay, who's gonna join us? A few brave souls.
Oh my goodness, that's it?
We need more than that.
All right, there
Well, a
we
few
go. Let's
people
get
are already
started.
eating the advanced plan, yeah.
So tell us.
You already have. Do you wanna tell us your experience, Dennis, when you ate the advanced plan, because you did do
Why
this?
did I have my mouth?
No, you did so great.
I have done this once already, and I'm doing it again because I want to reboot my system, but it does work. I have to tell you, it does work. I did it 2 years ago, and within 2 months of keeping up on this, I lost 35 pounds.
Wow.
And I didn't even try, it just fell right off. And the first week I did feel a little grumpy and grouchy and irritated,
Oh, no.
but it really only lasted the first week. After that, I felt tremendous. I slept better, I had more energy. So it does work, it really does, but you have to stick to it.
Yes.
So that's the key, sticking to it.
Awesome. That's why we're doing it together, so that you can have an accountability partner or a bunch of us to ask questions and eat the same way. Are you gonna join us?
I'm gonna join you. I just want to know if you follow this, will it stop your wife from snoring?
Only if she
I
follows.
don't know. They might have to join the teachers together.
Are, almond milks and that kind of thing good or bad for you?
So it depends, there's different brands, there's a ton of different brands right now, so you have to read the label.
Okay.
I think the only one is the one that you brought, which is called milk.
There's another one too, I forget.
Yeah, there's a
Just
couple
look,
that don't
because
have
a lot of them
any.
are laced with sugar.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they add bad oils and some sugar to it. So if you
Okay.
just have almond, if it just says almond milk, then you're good.
Yeah, so I think there's like, 20 different.
There's
ones right
cashew
now. They're
milk,
very-
there's almond milk, there's
Yeah,
hemp
walnut-
milk, all that is
walnut
good
milk.
stuff.
Okay.
Coconut milk is
Yeah, there's a whole bunch
fantastic.
of different ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
coconut milk is
It's
great,
good.
even in a can, the organic can of coconut milk. And that's thicker, so it makes your smoothie thicker, so it fills you up and it lasts, like all morning and into the afternoon, you can be full on a half can of coconut milk if you're making a nice thick smoothie. So,
Good questions. Any more questions?
Raw honey.
we love raw honey, but not.
Not on the advanced plan.
Okay, just wanted to know, because I thought it was being better when I was doing it.
It is, it's
Yeah.
better as, for sweet, something sweet, raw honey is awesome, but not on the advanced plan.
Okay.
Too much fructose.
I thought it was healthy.
Should still be occasional, not every day.
What is that?
Stevia.
And again, watch out the type of stevia you buy.
Yeah.
It's so deceiving, you guys. You look at Truvia, for example, and the first ingredient in stevia, which the brand name is Truvia, is dextrose. So sugar is the first ingredient.
So
That means
of
there's
that
more
than there is
sugar
stevia.
than there is stevia in
Yeah,
in
just
the
like
product.
stevia and morale.
It's not in the organic.
Well, you have to make sure that it's the extract.
Extract.
Right.
organic
The
extract.
Yeah, you just flip it over and it'll say stevia extract, and that's it.
That's what we.
Okay. So, if you have any questions, we'll have a list at the front that you can write down your email if you'd like this emailed to you, or you can click on the link and it'll take you directly to the recipe. Okay? Okay, so the biggest thing that we want you to change is your standards. Because if you keep your standards low, we're gonna keep doing the same things over and over, we're gonna keep creating the same habits. And that's why I wanna do this more as a group, so we can be accountable and we can all raise our standards together. It's a lot easier to stick to it when we have someone doing it with you. So, yeah, does anyone have any questions on anything?
Well, I'd like to hear
Yeah.
y'all comment on, I was interested to see what you had on before you put this on. It was either the Forks Over Knives documentary or the other one that's similar to that, The Game Changer. It's all about whole food plant-based diet. And I heard